Hey everybody, welcome to Relation Shots for our weekly time of Q&A where we try to hit 7 questions in 7-ish minutes. So let's go.
Okay. We're going to jump right in this time and go for sex because that's the first one.
Of course.
So what if the sex with you and your partner is not good?
Then improve it.
And they're married, like we're going to assume that they're married.
Of course, this is only married sex. So I would say, have a conversation about why it may not be good. Your partner may think it's good and not know anything different if you haven't communicated to them. If you have communicated to them and they don't seem to care, that's a whole different issue. So maybe you need to go to a counselor if there's some deeper seated issues that are causing problems. Maybe you just need to get a book that can help you or some other things like that that may spark a little bit of variety or whatever. I don't know what you're missing, and so it's hard to say just not good. This makes it good. Everybody's different, but I would say start with a conversation. If they're receptive to the conversation, then you can start talking about what needs to happen different in order for it to be good, because they may not know.
That's awkward though. What if the other person thinks it's good? They don't know.
Then hopefully they care. Hopefully they care enough about you to make it better.
I'm not saying that they don't care about them. I'm saying that would crush your
maybe a little reject. I mean, don't go, hey, sex sucks.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you. Be like, hey, how are you enjoying our sexual intimacy? And there's some areas where I would like it to be better. Let's talk about it.
That's good.
You can just be nice.
Okay. Is it okay to be friends with an ex?
No. Why? I feel like everybody wants to talk about this because it's everybody's issue. I've done a video on this, that you do not need friends of the opposite sex, especially an ex. There's already history. You've already had a relationship. You may have already been physical with them. All that's going to do is cause insecurity in whatever relationship you're trying to move forward in. Why do you need to be friends with your ex? Why?
I agree.
Okay, you don't.
Yeah.
Exes are ex. That means no longer. That means old. That means not anymore. So no, move on.
That's easy. That's a no-brainer for me too. Okay, what do I do if I communicate my needs and feelings to my spouse and nothing changes? I've been trying for a really long time.
I would first ask, how are you communicating it and when are you communicating it, right? If you don't communicate it quite right, they could just be defensive.
Right.
But if you feel like you're communicating it well, if you feel like they understand and there's clarity and they're just choosing not to meet you where you need to be met, then what I would say is it possible to meet some of those needs in other healthy relationships? So again, we're not talking about opposite sex, but let's say you have some emotional connection needs that you want met. Your spouse isn't meeting you there. Is it possible you can meet those if you're a girl with a girlfriend or a guy with your guy friends so that you're not just running around empty? There's some things you can only get from your spouse. I get that, and that's frustrating. And so I would just keep trying, find out, keep asking what they need from you. And maybe as you meet their needs, they're more apt to meet your needs. But I think anything that maybe they don't want to meet that you can outsource in a healthy way, you may try that too, so you're not feeling so empty.
I think when you said too, when do you communicate? The key is also to be communicating it when things are good, not when things not in the middle of a fight.
Right?
Do you know what I mean? That might be part
you know
of
what?
the issue.
That's because you never loved me.
Yeah.
Okay, that's gonna work.
I mean,
I guess you.
Okay. Another one about sex. So my spouse never initiates sex. She makes me feel like she is just doing a duty. How can I get her to enjoy it, or even just to act like it's not killing her to have to do it?
That is the worst. Okay.
Well, you gotta say that like you know.
I'm just saying I've heard stories from people that, just hurry up so I can go to bed, right? So listen, that's okay sometimes. That's okay. That's not okay every time. So I would ask, do they not enjoy it? Maybe there's something going on. Maybe it's awkward for them. Maybe they have a wrong mindset that it's dirty, and so they feel weird initiating. I don't know what's going in their head why they don't initiate, but I want to find out why. And if there's no desire, no interest, then we probably need to talk about why. Is it a psychological block? Is it something biological, low testosterone? They just don't have a drive anymore? Is it that you're not attentive to their needs, and so they're like, well, you don't ever care if I'm satisfied anyway, so why should I care? I just think there could be a number of reasons. So what do you do when I don't initiate?
Do you really want me to go there?
She initiates. Is that
I do. I always initiate.
Always.
I do. I
Oh my
always
gosh.
initiate.
Okay.
That's another topic.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a video on that
Sure
sometime
she does.
because
Except the last 3
I'm not allowed to
times.
say always and never, but like I promise
That's
you,
because those
it's
are
always.
universal
Okay,
statements.
but it's always.
It can't be always.
Okay,
last 3 times I did.
No, like
Get back to the
last-
questions.
Okay, sorry.
Let's go. That's enough of that.
We need to go see counseling.
I'll counsel
Okay.
you.
Okay. Oh, this is a good one. Perfect for right now. How do you let your husband lead you if you do not if you do not agree with the way that he leads?
Wow. So I'll answer this 2 ways. If you're watching and you're a Christian, then there's this biblical model of headship where the Bible says Christ the head of the man, man the head of the woman. Wives submit to your husbands, husbands lay down your life for your wives. So there's this idea that the husband is kind of the spiritual head of the household. I think for Christians, what I would say to them is, the Bible says, wives submit to your husbands as unto the Lord. So the idea is your faith is not in your husband, your faith is in the Lord. So you can allow him to lead at times, knowing if he comes up short, God's got your back. And so I think that allows you to follow him at least with a little more confidence than if you're a non-Christian and you're not a person of faith. What I would say would be, how are the ways that you can influence them? It's like your kids, where you help your kids think it was their idea, even though you wanted them to do it. Yeah, I saw you do this with
You're
our
like
daughter just the other day, right? But no, you do sometimes, because if it's their idea, they're more apt to do it than if you tell them. So you ask questions to lead them there, right? So you
Sounds like tricking, but
it's called influence. So you can influence them, or I would also say this: why don't you let them lead in the little things you don't care about? Right? Because you've got a whole list of things. There's things that aren't as important. There's things that are really important. It's going to be hard for you to let them lead in the really important things. So I'd say start with the non-important things, like where you go to dinner or some decision you don't really care about. Just let them lead and support them. And then maybe if he sees that you're supportive, then he'll let you influence a little more in the bigger decisions. Maybe.
okay.
Yeah.
I still don't know what I did with my daughter, but whatever. Okay, what do I do if my partner refuses to address issues? He just won't talk. He shuts down. I don't have that problem.
If you're dating, then I would be real weary of somebody who never wants to talk, because we're not going to be able to resolve issues. If you're already married to this kind of person, I would maybe you can do a little more digging to figure out why. Sometimes people are just conflict avoiders because they don't like conflict, and so maybe that's why. Maybe the way that you engage with them feels like, let's say you're like the prosecuting attorney and he can never win an argument. He's not going to want to engage. I don't know if it said he or she. I'm just making that up. But anyway, so if
it said he,
I'm
it said
just,
he won't
okay,
talk.
good.
He won't talk.
He
He
won't
just
talk.
shuts
Good.
down.
I was just making assumptions. So I'm just saying, I didn't want to make assumptions. But I would say, maybe there's some things you're doing in communication that makes him a little fearful to step into that. So one great way to do this is to have a regular time once a week, like a staff meeting, where you address issues, because the conflict avoider will have a little easier time if there's a set time to do it. And if you invite some feedback from them, hey, how am I doing in the relationship? Anything I can work on before you kind of start talking about issues, that might help them by setting a time that they know that they can maybe voice issues. And so I would say, how are you approaching them? Are you setting an environment where he feels comfortable or he feels criticized? And then maybe setting a specific time, because he may be like, when I'm watching the game, ambushing me about some issue is not good timing for me. Let's set a time to do it and talk about it.
That's good.
Thanks.
Okay. Oh, we're already at the last one.
Oh, look at us.
Wow, that was fast.
Okay.
Okay. Is it okay to keep a secret from your spouse if you have dealt with the issue and them knowing about it would only cause them pain?
Oh, jeez. This is not a 7 questions in 7 minutes kind of. There's so much to this. So I think you could say with unequivocal confidence that honesty is always the best policy, right? Just generally. So it's not okay to lie in a relationship. But there's a but. Now, sometimes there's things from our past that now we got to start talking about motivation. Like, are you just getting it off your chest so you feel better, but now putting a weight on your partner's chest or shoulders that they can't carry? and you feel better, but now they're for the rest of the relationship stuck with this running through their head, that's probably not healthy. I think, well, I would say this, if it affects them and your relationship presently, you absolutely have to tell them. Like if you just cheated on them last week or something like that. If it's something from a long time ago that you think will cause more damage than it will cause help or more intimacy, I think that's one of those things you need to get some outside wisdom, probably a counselor, probably some trusted friends, because every situation is a little different. Again, I could never endorse absolutely be dishonest with your partner. That's not a healthy relationship. No. But I think there are some things that may not impact the relationship at all, that may only cause disconnection in the relationship. And if you're doing it just so you can feel better, that's not a healthy motivation. So I just think there's so much to that. That's probably like a 30-minute conversation with whoever had the question. But that would be my initial thoughts. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm on both sides of that, because for me, I would be the one that would want to say it to get it off my chest. But like, I wouldn't want you to tell me anything because I would never be able to forget it. You know, like
so there you go. If it was her, she'd want to tell me and let me rest with it the rest of my life. If it was me, she don't want to hear about it.
Correct.
Because then she can't unforget it. Right. But I think that kind of describes just the differences between people. I mean, I can remember situations where, one spouse divulged to the other spouse an addiction they were dealing with that they were trying to overcome, and it was too much for that spouse, and they ended up divorcing. And so I'm like, I don't know if that was the best move in that situation, right. But normally I would say that is a good move, right. But everybody's different. So I would say if it impacts the relationship, absolutely 100% honesty. If it doesn't, then I'd get some outside counsel and wisdom, whether it be a counselor or a mentor couple or something like that.
That's good.
So there you go. 7 questions in 7-ish minutes. If you think anybody you know would be helped by the answer to one of these questions, consider sharing this video with a friend. And we'll see you next time right here on Relationshots.
Did you say that at the end of the first one?
Yeah.